More protesters taking to the streets for a second day after the Supreme Court handed down its decision overturning Roe v. Wade, allowing states to make their own abortion laws. Protests erupted across the country after the ruling yesterday. Thousands of people, both pro-life and pro-abortion activists. The protests were mostly peaceful, but last night in our nation's capital, activists burned the American flag. One sign that was next to the burning flag read FMPD, and another reads F.U. Thomas, Alito, Coney Barrett, Kavanaugh, Gorsuch, Roberts. And police used tear gas to break up a sizable crowd outside the Arizona Senate building. One state senator tweeting, protesters threatened to break the entryway glass. Meantime, back in Washington, Democrats seem to be calling for violence. Watch.
You see this turnout here? You ain't seen nothing yet. The hell with the Supreme Court. We will defy them. We will be out by the thousands. We will be out by the millions.
There is a war out there, and we need to recognize that we've got to armor up.
Into the streets! Into the streets! Into the streets! Into the streets!
This as the Department of Homeland Security warned extremists could use the Supreme Court's decision to justify their violence. It's kind of amazing to me because, you know, you look at this, and just a few weeks back when you had the Buffalo shooting, you had the Democrats immediately pouncing on conservative rhetoric, saying that was to blame for the shooting. And now you just heard it. You've got these Democrats, these Democratic politicians that are either calling for violence or not condemning violence. I want to play this soundbite from California Congresswoman Sarah Jacobs, and then we'll get your response to this, Laura.
We have seen acts of violence in previous weeks. When the leak came out, we've seen people condoning those acts of violence, especially in the wake of today's decision. Your opinion on that?
Frankly, the government trying to tell me what to do with my body feels like an act of violence in and of itself.
As for the actual acts of violence that have taken place, do you condone it? Yes or no?
I think people should do what they think is the most effective way to stand up to this hateful and shameful decision. Indicating
violence is the most effective way to stand up for a shameful decision. And Laura, what happens if somebody goes out and shoots some pro-life people? Do they blame the gun? What's going on here?
It's really frightening, honestly. And we know that they've condoned this violence because you had this group, Jane's Revenge, that has firebombed pro-life offices, has targeted pro-life individuals across the country. Nothing has been truly done about it. You had parents that went to school board meetings and they were called domestic terrorists. This group has not been labeled as a domestic terrorist organization, although very clearly I don't know why they haven't. No one has done the right thing when it came to the folks protesting outside of the justices' homes. Where was our attorney general taking steps to make sure that that didn't happen? And now we see, after the fact, that people are obviously very heated. It is a very tense time in America. And when you have people, leaders that are not stepping up to the plate and saying, do not go out and commit violence. I mean, I don't agree with Joe Biden on much, but at least yesterday, whenever he spoke, he did say that. He did say, we don't want violence, keep everything peaceful. It's a really scary time, and no wonder people are doing it. You have folks like that just saying basically anything goes.
David Webb, it's a very good point she brings up about the Attorney General, right? I mean, he did nothing for those protests outside the justices' homes, which have gone on for weeks now. Right. And it's clearly against the law. And then when the Attorney General comes out yesterday, I mean, how often have you seen an Attorney General weigh in on a Supreme Court decision and really kind of just slam it? It seems like politics is just so heavily involved in it.
Well, it is. And this is an attorney general who, if they had their way, would be on the Supreme Court. I wonder what his view would be on a protest outside his home. That statement that Merrick Garland issued yesterday, I think it was about 11:30 a.m., he was quick to come out with it, was a political statement, not a statement that should be made by anyone in a law enforcement position. And you know, to your point about Joe Biden saying peace, peace, peace yesterday, This is after a planned assassination of a Supreme Court justice.
Which he still hasn't talked about.
Right, which they haven't spoken out against. So I don't buy it. And to whether it's Congresswoman Maxine Waters, remember, she said go after Trump supporters, harass them if they're out in a restaurant, and they did.
Yeah.
So, and the Congresswoman you had in that sound, you know, when you look at it, the Democrats are looking at this as how much can we gin up? They didn't close the Supreme Court, Trace, because of violent people who wanted to pray outside. They closed it because of violent leftists who were threatening to go in. And when you think about Madison, Wisconsin, a few years back, what they did in that building, you know, this is what they're promoting tacitly or implicitly. They either implicitly say it or they tacitly approve it like the president did.
You had a couple of analysts also mention yesterday that, you know, we've seen weeks and weeks of protesting outside the justices' homes, clearly illegal because you cannot protest while a decision is pending. Well, the decision has been made. So now there's an argument that they could legally go and protest in front of these justices' homes, which ups the danger level there. Nicole, I just want to play this soundbite. This is a pro-abortion activist calling for violence against the Supreme Court. Watch.
I'm just convinced we need to burn it all down, because at this point, I don't know what else we're supposed to do. I'm advocating for violence. We're supposed to do what? Sit on the sidelines? Light it on fire.
They just want to torch everything.
Well, Trace, part of this, part of the reason that there's such an uproar with the SCOTUS decision regarding Roe right now is because the Democrats have allowed the progressive left to radicalize the pro-life movement, or the pro-choice movement, sorry. But essentially what they're saying, they're having violent demonstrations, they're promoting violence, and now they are radicalizing pro-choice because the majority of Americans are in some favor of some access to abortion with restrictions. The poll after poll tells us that. But what has happened was, even through that Women's Health Protection Act, you had 47 Democratic senators plus President Biden say that they would support that. And what that would do would remove any restrictions when it came to abortion, saying that a baby, up until the moment they breathe their first breath of life, could have an abortion caused to them. And so that the majority of Americans don't necessarily agree with that. So because of that radicalized opinion, you have now galvanized the pro-life movement. You have also taken some of the moderates who are not okay with those late-term abortions, and now they've garnered some more support. So now it's going to go to the states. And at the end of the day, the extremes on both sides, pro-life, pro-choice, these state governors and legislators are not going to win re-election if they take radical sides on any extreme of the argument. And you need to come together and really go for what the American people want.
And we've got about a minute left, and I just want to point this out because I was in Times Square last night and they had a march that came down. There were thousands of people and it was peaceful. But I talked to some people and it's surprising to me that most really, or some, believe that the Supreme Court just banned abortion in this country. And they don't realize that it went back to the states where it was for 180.
But
I
that
was going to say
speaks.
that. That is honestly the most shocking thing to me to have learned in the past 24 hours is just how many people believe what you're saying, Trace, that they have followed. And by the way, it's the rhetoric. Nicole, you talked about the rhetoric from the left. The left has pushed the idea that abortion is banned, period, in America. That is not the case. And a lot of folks, I think, need to go back and maybe go to high school civics and actually learn how the process in this country works, that now it goes back to the states. And if you believe in our constitutional republic, if you believe in a democratic process, that is what will happen now. And if your state votes to make abortion, you know, up until 20 weeks, 25 weeks, 30 weeks, whatever it is, that'll be in your state. Some states may ban it altogether, but that's the scary part, is a lot of people believe that.
You know, there's a responsibility that they've chosen to ignore on the left, and it's not just about this issue. Like immigration, you know, all the other issues, they gin it up and they drive it home. The misinformation benefits them, and then you get the chest beating by the media, the left-wing media, a media which, by the way, now says outright, like Don Lemon and others have done, we don't cover the issues equally, Democrats, Republicans, right, left. So this is going to become more of a problem, and unfortunately, I do believe in some of the states you're going to see more radical action and bad behavior.
10 seconds, Nicole, to wrap us up.
At the end of the day, violence will never be the answer, and especially it goes against, it's the antithesis for democracy, which is what we are. So I implore all leaders, anyone in the public eye, to not condone violence, because people will get hurt and people will die.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Great conversation. We will continue it.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.